Hey everyone, Courtney Gruenholz back here again for another video. So, if you couldn't tell, I am wearing one of my new shirts that I got with the cheerleaders the first evil on my shirt. I got this through TeePublic. I ordered 4 shirts. I've already worn one. I said I was going to do an unboxing video, but I just couldn't wait. I wanted to wash them so I could wear them. But I have my Fear Street shirt on, and I watched part 2 of the Fear Street trilogy, Fear Street 1978, last night. I got an early screening pass to see it, so I watched it last night, and it's pretty good. It definitely is an homage to other camp slasher movies like Friday the 13th. Kind of elements, a little bit of like sleepaway camp, and yeah, it was pretty good. I'd say it's about as good as the first one in my opinion. That's my opinion. Again, of course, since it was kind of like those summer camp slashers, it was very predictable. There were more kills than there were in part 1. Of course, we also learned that in part 1, the Camp Nightwing was like a massacre, so there were a lot of people killed. So we knew the body count was going to get bigger. Not really very inventive in kills like in part 1 with the now infamous bread slicer. So mostly just people getting hacked up with an axe. So, kind of like, Jason and going around hacking people up with a machete and stuff. So not very creative, mostly, a lot of that. So nothing like really like memorable, I guess. I mean, there were tragic deaths, and not gonna lie, I was kind of shocked that they made, I know it's at a camp, but they made the kids kind of younger. The more they're like the kids that are older, that they're going to be too old to come to camp, and then there are the camp counselors, so they're older. But most of the campers in there are kind of kids. They're kind of more like the kids that are like aged for like Goosebumps books to me, and so it's kind of a little unsettling to see that. But it's been done in the past, so that was kind of unsettling. But it was still really good. It gave us kind of a little bit more backstory on the Sarah Fear part of it, all the supernatural witchcraft kind of elements of it. So again, it was kind of in the beginning like a normal kind of slasher thing, and then you throw in the supernatural elements. So that was a good change. That's when it started to make things amp up in the energy. So like the first half of the movie, it's kind of like setting up the story a little bit, and then like the second half, we get all the paranormal, supernatural stuff and the killings, that turn it into an actual, kind of horror movie. So, of course, it's got Sadie Sink, Stranger Things in it as Ziggy. So, there's kind of what I guess they call it a clever kind of twist towards the end, when we get towards the end of like our flashback to 78, that you can actually pick up from the beginning if you're very well aware of the characters' names and things that we know. So we get introduced to new characters, so we get a break from who we have left from the first movie, and we get to meet new characters. So we get a little bit more, kind of a little bit of more backstory with Sheriff Nick Good, which it's kind of interesting to go back to that part of it, because and then also learning the actual identity of who the Nightwing killer is kind of ups the stakes a little bit more when you find out who it is and the relationship to other characters. And but again, in the beginning it's kind of slow, and then it amps up to, the slasher part, and then the supernatural elements, and a little bit more about the background of Seraphir, and a little bit more nature about the curse, not all in full. And then of course the ending that's going to set us up for the final part, which is going to take us back to 1666. It's kind of almost what I thought it was going to be in leading up to that, about how we're going to handle going back to 1666 and setting all of this up. So, and then of course we had a little preview of it for the next part. So, it's interesting to see what they're doing there. Again, I don't know whether it's just going to be setting the characters that we've come to know back in this more kind of colonial setting, or if it's like this kind of reincarnation thing, because the way we have it set up, it just looks like we're going to see these characters through someone's eyes as looking like people that they know. So I'm kind of interested how they're going to set that up. And then of course we're not going to be completely back in 1666. I can already tell that now, because we're going to have to wrap up 1994. We're going to have to wrap that up. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do that. So I'm just wondering how far we're going to go into the movie with going back in time and then finishing where we are in the modern setting. So that's going to be interesting to see how they finish it. And also, there aren't really a lot of kind of like Fear Street Easter egg connections to any of the books, except for it being set at Camp Nightwing, which happens in the book Lights Out. But nothing really actually in line with the plot. So it's kind of its own thing. So not really in line with anything canon wise. So we still have the same score with Marco Beltrami, who did it for Scream. I guess it's okay. There's this one part where we get this ominous Latin kind of chanting thing going on, and it's really, it kind of throws it off a little bit. It fits the action, but it's because the last movie is kind of more in line with the way it was in the way it was in Scream. And so of course people say part one's a kind of almost a Scream knockoff, and this one's kind of more like a Friday the 13th knockoff. So I'm hoping part 3 is going to be its own kind of thing. So of course this has a really good soundtrack, not score, soundtrack. The music for it is definitely very 70s. So again, they were in part 1, they had some songs that were after 1994, so I'm not exactly sure about how after 1978 some of these songs are, but it was very 70s, and it also kind of has a contrast in the music a little bit between Shadyside and Sunnyvale, because the Sunnyvale kids are shown to be very clean cut and but still not very nice, because they hold it over the Shadyside kids' heads, and then the Shadyside kids are supposed to be a little bit more kind of rebellious and out there, but some of them they aren't bad people. They just happen to live in the bad side of town and have, you know, bad luck, which I can't wait to see how we got to this divide, because we do learn that Sunnyvale and Shadyside used to be one settlement back in the 1600s and then got divided. So that's going to be interesting to see and see where they go with that. And hopefully they'll add, you know, elements from the books, because there's a lot of backstory of Fear Street to get to the modern era. So, but again, back to the soundtrack. Yeah, it has, like, you know, poppies. It has poppy stuff, like, you know, Captain and Tennille and Neil Diamond and Thelma Houston. So it's got like poppy disco-y kind of stuff. But then we've got more kind of mellow stuff. We have, you know, the Cat Stevens, and then we work our way up, and we've got stuff like the Runaways. We have Blue Oyster Cult, Velvet Underground, and then we have Foghat, and then we have David Bowie, and then we have Kansas. So it's just every time I hear a certain song by Kansas, I think of something else. So it's kind of interesting. So I don't think I have to stress enough what song I'm talking about. So it just kind of gave me vibes. I was kind of almost expecting Sam and Dean Winchester to just like show up in there and Impala, but then I'm thinking this is the 70s, but you never know. So, but it's got a very good 70s soundtrack, and so I like that. So that's kind of what I was digging before all the action started happening. I was just sitting there watching it, digging the 70s soundtrack and waiting for the action stuff to start. So if you like 70s music and you like classic rock and a little bit more kind of the mellow stuff, then you're going to like the soundtrack for this. So, which kind of makes me sad, because when we go to like 1666, well, we're not going to get music back there. But we're still probably going to finish up our 90s arc. So I'm kind of wondering, what are they going to do with the music for that? So I'm sure the score is going to be brilliant, but I'm wondering if there's going to be any kind of a soundtrack. So, and of course, I'm dying to see how this all ends. We're going to go get backstory like we do in trilogies, but we're going to have to finish up our main narrative. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to finish and play out. And I think once all 3 parts are out and you go back and watch it, you can probably notice more things and see how the storyline goes. As part 2 of a trilogy so far, I guess I would give Fear Street 1978 about the same rating I gave Fear Street 1994, about 4 out of 5 stars, because I like the soundtrack. I like how you get a little bit more backstory about the Seraphir part of the curse. I like some of the new characters that we meet and delving into, you know, their lives and learning about them. And I like the twist at the end. So, as the song by Foghat goes, it is kind of a slow ride at first, but once we get like past the first 45 minutes, things start to get a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I'd still say like 4 out of 5 stars. And I wouldn't say it's better than part 1 or worse. I'd say it's about the same. I kind of wish there'd been like kind of more Fear Street Easter eggs into it, like there was in the first one. So I'm hoping we get more nods in part 3 and a satisfying conclusion. And I don't know, maybe explore more of Fear Street in the future. I really wish they'd turn it into a series. Again, you've got plenty of material to make a show. You've got plenty of material to actually make movies based off books. So, I guess I'm saying, like I did last time, if you don't have Netflix and you have a friend who has Netflix, try to convince them to give Fear Street 1994 and Fear Street 1978 a try, because they're really good. I mean, and they don't have to have read the books to get what's going on. And, if they're interested enough, turn them on to the books. So, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about part 2. So, I'm really excited now for part 3. So, I guess next time I will be back with my thoughts and opinions, review, I guess, of Fear Street 1666, part 3 of the trilogy and the conclusion. And I hope that it's going to be a good one. And after the Fear Street movies are done, I'll probably go back to talking about my books. So, until next time, I hope that you have a good day, and we'll talk about Fear Street next time, I guess. So until then, this is Courtney Gruenholz. Have a nice day.